going on, guys? Welcome back to Gotta Get Back, the Samurai Jacket review show. My name is Kyle, your host. Welcome to Project Potter, guys. Welcome to episode 37. We're going through season 3. This is a two-parter, so I did decide to split it up into two different episodes. But this is the Birth of Evil Part 1, where we get to find out Aku's origin, and it's really cool. And if you guys haven't seen the show before, it's a recap of the episode. It is a favorite character, favorite scene, a score out of 10. And some trivia at the end. And here we go. Okay, guys, so this one is called The Birth of Evil. So we begin the episode in like space or cosmos or like just kind of in the universe. And there's a bunch of like champions that ride through like on these different like elephants and creatures, and they're all kind of like the heroes, presumably, of like the universe. And so there's this like black evil like matter that's kind of like guy like going around here in space. And so they're shooting at it, and every time they hit it, it kind of burns up. Like we see the magic sword every time it hits Aku. And so it's kind of like looks like it's in pain, but it's shape shifting. This is of course Aku before Aku became Aku. And so there's like these 4 or 5 different champions, and they're shooting it, and it's like there's so much of it that every time it's like burning up in a little bit, and it's almost like regenerating. But there's a little piece of it that gets cut off, and that piece kind of goes like they don't see it because it goes all the way towards Earth. And so while they're focusing all their firepower, and this is like constant like swinging and arrows, and there's a lot of evil to take down. And they got to get every single inch, or it's going to regenerate just like any evil incarnate that you've seen before. So they take out the huge piece there, like, oh great, we got everything. Well, not so fast, because the little piece that eventually becomes Aku is thrown towards Earth, and it ends up where the dinosaurs are, and it comes in like a comet basically, and it wipes out all the dinosaurs. So this is kind of like their version of how the Earth came to be, and then it's just like evil within the ground, and so there's like showing cracks, and there's like that spout, like the like all of these over here, these like little tree things, and it's just like kind of going through the land, and it's just killing everything. And so we eventually see like different tribes, like the cavemen that come up, and they're like getting trapped in the goop. And there's like a great scene where there's like one of them like trying to get the other one out, and he's like, they're like speaking obviously not English, just like a really early language, and he can't get him out there, and he's like freaking out. He's like waving to the people that come in here, and they can't get him. So we're presuming that Aku like kind of swallowed all of them up, and it's just like this like goop like tar almost. So it's really gross, and it's just kind of making its way through, but it's not taking over the world because civilization is still going on around it. So eventually we do get to the Emperor, which is Jack's father, and little Jack is still in his mom's belly, so he hasn't been born yet. And she's like, look, I don't understand why you have to do this. She's like, isn't your family important too? And he's like, of course it is. He's like, but these are my people too. And he's like, we need to stop this evil. And so there's a cool scene of like the Emperor suiting up, where he's like literally getting on all of his different like clothes, armor and stuff. And the Emperor's right-hand man gives him a little blue bottle that says, remember, sir, the elixir. He's like, this is the key to stopping this. And he puts it in like a little vial, and kind of takes a hard look at Jack's mother. Or I don't know if we ever get a name for Jack's mom, but he takes a look at her, and he kind of gives her a nice look, and then he's off to battle, and the drums are beating. It's really cool. But they all get on the horses, and they start rolling towards like this area that's just like all these little like spikes that you can see behind me here, and like the ground's just cracked, and it's like it is like the root of the evil. So they like start going, and they start riding the horses through, and these spikes are like coming up through the ground, and it doesn't show it going through the horses, but I think it's just because it's like a kid show and they couldn't show that. But we're presuming that like as the horses kind of start going off one by one, we're presuming that these are going like through and killing the warriors. So kind of one by one they're going through, and it's the Emperor's like kind of freaking out, but he's like, we got to march on. And they're just dropping like flies, and it's a cool aesthetic because all around them is just these. It's like a forest, but it's just these different like Aku evil like branches that are sprouting up everywhere. And so eventually it's just the Emperor, and he does actually get to like like the pool of like, again, it looks like tar. It's like bubbling and it's dark and it just looks evil. And he's the only one left, and the ground is kind of cracking still, and he's like freaking out. He's like, oh, and he takes out the elixir and he does like little like ritual or whatever, and he points it. It's like this green, like I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like this green, like slimy material. He puts his arrow in it. He fires. He looks up at the sun. He fires up at the sun, so it gets a little bit of the sun's heat and the fire, and so it goes into the tar. And then this is actually what creates Aku, and this is cool because unknowingly, Jack's father actually created Aku. And so all of the tree branches like go into the tar pit, and I'm thinking like, oh, cool, he maybe he did it. And then what happens is that there's like a brief moment, and then it just shoots up. First, you see like the flame eyes, the eyebrows from Aku, and it just shoots up into Aku's giant like stature, and it's just like kind of the tree at first, and then it like slowly branches out into these different arms, and it's really, the sound is awesome because it's like, it sounds like branches like slowly breaking and stretching, and every time they like Aku does like a stretch, he like, it really does feel like it's like breaking something. I don't know how to describe it, but basically the Emperor's looking up, and we get the slow turn from Aku, and his mouth is open, his eyes are closed, and he opens his eyes, and he's like, ah, and he like does a stretch, and he's like, at last I am free, and he looks down and he's like, thank you, and he's like, no, my intention was to destroy you, and he's like, well, it didn't work. And so he like goes over to the sun, and he like spreads the sun so that it's like kind of cloudy and spreads all these like all this darkness basically. And Aku is like kind of figuring out his power, so it's cool because he like opens his hands for the first time, and he's like, ooh, and he's like looking around, and he's like, oh, thank you for freeing me. He's like, it was because of you that like I am free. And he's like, oh, foolish warrior, like none of the weapons in this world can harm me, because he fires like the arrows at him, and he just absorbs them in his hand, and then he has a sword, but it's not the magic sword. He swipes at Aku, and it still like gives the like cuts Aku, but it doesn't hurt him at all, and then it just like regenerates. So he does tell him like, yeah, nothing in this world will hurt me, and he throws like the goop or like the dark like tar onto the Emperor, throws him into the pool, keeps him in there, and then he like raises him up, and that's where it's like basically a huge like tree stump or like part of the ground that comes up, and he's chained to there. And Aku goes, now you witness the full power of Aku. And Aku goes over to the nearby town, and so he does it so that the Emperor can see it as he's chained up, and he burns the village, obviously as the Emperor's watching, and he's freaking out. He's like, no, no. And it's really just like messed up and cool, and I love the dark sound of Aku in there, like the dark music that we get for Aku. But yeah, it just shows you how evil Aku is, and even though he's like kind of a comedic character sometimes, this is literally his origin, his birth, and yeah, he does not pull any punches, and that is how technically episode 1 ends. There is actually a to be continued. This is the first episode where it does that, so that is the end of this episode. Hey guys, for the magic sword, it's Aku, dude. Aku is awesome. I mean, it's hard to root for the bad guy. Like I feel kind of guilty, but I mean, his powers and his look and his charisma is just awesome. So like to see how he came to be is really, really cool. And the fact that it was like it was like a piece of him that broke off, a piece of evil that broke off and then like wiped out the dinosaurs. And just the fact that he was like evil alone, where he like could kind of control it, where he'd go and like take out different people, and then finding out that like whatever was in Jack's father's arrow and the sun and the potion that made Aku, it's like super cool. I mean, what a reveal, guys, that Jack's father is responsible for creating Aku. That's amazing. And that's also probably why Jack, like, I'm sure Jack doesn't know that, but that's probably also why he wants to take him down so bad, because his family's the one who started all this mess. So like he is in some way responsible for the destruction. So it'll be interesting to see if Jack finds out about that or if that comes back into play. But yeah, Aku is the coolest one in this episode for sure. So for a portal in time for this one, I think it has to be just the end scene where I just love that like Aku is burning the village, and then like he is doing it so that the emperor is forced to watch, where he's strung up there. It was really like torturous and messed up, and I liked it. I almost picked the scene where he actually creates Aku, but that was cool too. That the arrow goes all the way up and gets the flame. So whatever they studied to try and defeat Aku or vanquish the evil obviously didn't work. So that was kind of weird. But yeah, that scene where he's burning the village in front of Jack's father and forcing him to watch is the one that stood out the most to me at the end, and as it should, because they kind of leave it on a cliffhanger for episode 2. But that is my Portal in Time for this week. Okay, guys, so first score for this one. This is a good episode. The sound was excellent, as it usually is in Samurai Jack. This, we'll get into something else in a little bit there, but for me personally, I'm going to give this an 8.4. I thought it was good. I liked the like seeing Aku come to life. I thought that was really cool. And I liked how he still kind of had power without even being Aku. Like he could still kind of, like he knew the warriors were coming, so he would send the spikes up through the ground, even though he wasn't like fully like Aku can move around yet. So there's still that evil kind of intention there. So yeah, that was cool. The sound was incredible, and the big reveal of like finding out that Jack's father is the one who created Aku by accident is super cool. I'm glad they did that twist, and yeah, just a good episode. Okay, guys, for Jack Facts, we have a few for this one. So we have a couple of errors in this episode. So the first one here, after Aku is given life, he is shown with his mouth closed and his eyes opened, which I talked about earlier. But when the camera zooms in on his face, his eyes are shut and his mouth is opened. So some continuity issues there. And then when Aku attacks the city, he is shown shooting fire from his hands. But after the camera focuses on the Emperor trying to break free from his binds, Aku is shown shooting fire from his eyes. So maybe he just switched it up. Maybe he wanted to do a little bit of both. But those are two kind of like errors there. And then the real like Jack Facts of the trivia. This episode, of course, revealed Aku's origins, as well as how he first met the Emperor, which is Jack's father. And then this is the second episode where Jack doesn't physically appear since he was not born yet. The first one, I think, is Aku's Fairy Tales, the season 1 finale, where they're just talking about Jack and he's not actually in it. This is the first episode to have a title card, The Birth of Evil. And this is the Empress's first speaking role. So first time we hear her speak. And then the last one here, guys, this episode won the 2004 Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Animated Program. So this is like an hour-long 2-parter. So this is the first half hour. And then the other half hour is coming up. So yeah, it's really good. I just, I don't know, something was kind of missing, but maybe that's just because the cliffhanger. But it is cool to see the origin of Aku and all that. So, but yeah, those are our Jack Facts for this week. All right, guys, well, that's it. That is another episode of Samurai Jack in Review. Got to get back. We are 37 deep now, I believe. So we'll have part 2 next week for this Birth of Evil origin story of Aku. So what's going to happen next, I don't know. Obviously, we're going to see probably Jack get born and stuff like that. But yeah, a good episode and great series. Again, I love the sound design. But thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. Thanks for checking out Got to Get Back. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell notification. You already know. And until next time, guys, got to get back.